Good evening. Welcome to Northbeat. I'm Megan Roberts. Hundreds of millions of dollars over the next 4 years. That is what the GNWT says it's hoping to generate as part of its new fiscal strategy announced today. The goal is to tackle the territory's economic challenges. Robert Holden has the details.
They're calling it Finding Balance. The goal, produce an extra $150 million in the territory every year. The GNWT says this will be done through revenue generation or cutting expenses during the 2024-2025 fiscal year.
The government of the Northwest Territories cannot continue to rely on Canada to increase our funding or our borrowing limit. We are responsible for ensuring that our financial situation is sustainable and our financial house is in order.
According to the documents in the strategy, the territorial government's workforce grew by 27% since 2019-2020. And yet, according to Finance Minister Caroline Wozniak, there are still positions that need to be filled. To find the $150 million, Wozniak says they want to limit growth of the public sector rather than cut jobs. And she's promising there won't be a tax hike.
I've been doing budget dialogues for 4 years. There is zero appetite, and really I'd suggest probably pretty zero capacity in our residents to be having any kind of tax increases.
Over the next few weeks, there will be an internal review where employees can have their say about what costs can be cut.
As part of this strategy, each department will be asked to evaluate its programs and services to identify and trim inefficiencies. This may lead to some programs and services being merged, especially as we move towards a more streamlined, resident-focused, and integrated service delivery model.
The new strategy also seeks to put another $150 million towards paying off short-term debt over the next 4 years. The GNWT and the Union of Northern Workers have been bargaining for a new collective agreement since last year. Minister Wozniak further stated today's announcement shouldn't affect those negotiations. Robert Holden, CBC News, Yellowknife.
Fort Simpson RCMP have charged Allison Sanguez with manslaughter. The charge is in connection to the death of a woman last month in Fort Simpson. Sanguez is 27 years old and from Jean Marie River. She's been taken into police custody and she's set to appear in court on Wednesday. And Yellowknife RCMP have arrested a youth after a Facebook marketplace incident in November. Police say the youth, who can't be named, tried to rob a person during a transaction and brandished what appeared to be a firearm. The young person is facing 5 charges, including robbery with a firearm, uttering threats, and carrying a concealed weapon. The Kudlik Energy Corporation is asking people in Rankin Inlet to preserve power for the next 2 weeks. The corporation is making emergency repairs to its generators, and it wants people to help keep the power grid stable. It says residents can conserve energy by lowering thermostats to 20 degrees and using appliances like dryers, ovens, and washers after 7 p.m. It might still be 2 decades away, but work to bring a new copper mine to Kugluktuk has started. An Australia-based mining company will begin an exploration program near the Kitikmeot community this summer. Whitecliff Minerals was granted approval by the Nunavut Planning Commission to look for copper in the area. The company says interest in the region isn't new.
The area around Kugluktuk has been investigated for copper since the 1700s. The Inuits from the area had used some of the native copper occurrences to make tools and weapons and whatnot. So the area has been looked at kind of sporadically throughout history.
Work is set to begin this spring, starting with an airborne geophysical program and drilling. The company says it plans to set up an office in Kugluktuk and hire locally whenever possible.
And Canada, with 50 to go, could be getting their second gold medal at these championships. They take the title in the mixed relay. What a performance.
And with that, another Yukoner is taking home gold at the Under-23 Nordic World Ski Championship. Whitehorse's Derek Dooling was competing in the mixed relay event. He was the first out of the gates for the team, and he helped secure Canada's second gold medal in under a week. Members of the Whitehorse Cross Country Ski Club are pumped about this big win. That includes Emily Nishikawa, a 2-time cross-country ski Olympian and fellow Yukoner.
We're just totally blown away. Like, it's beyond expectations. but also just like the fact that, you know, these Yukoners are winning world championships is just like, you know, a testament to the program, a testament to what's happening here, and then just like such inspiration for all these up and coming skiers. It's like, yeah, it couldn't be better.
Dueling's team gold comes less than a week after Sonia Schmidt won individual gold. Schmidt is also from the Yukon, and she is the first Canadian woman to win under 23 Nordic gold at the World Ski Championships. Legendary Northwest Territories musician Angusbolo died this past weekend. Bolio was one of the founding members of the Native Cousins Band and a master fiddler who performed for decades in venues across the territory. Linda Duford is his friend and a fiddler herself. She remembers his talent and his impact.
I had a wonderful relationship with Angus. I've known him since I was young. I met him when I was about 18 or 19, living in Fort Simpson. He was the first Métis style fiddler that I really ever heard in person. And we've been friends ever since, on and off over the years, always running into each other at concerts and festivals. And yeah, just an amazing person, and really cherished the friendship. We used to call him the walking museum. I mean, anybody who's ever been to Angus and Dorothy's in Fort Resolution will know the thrill of walking into their home, and the whole place is full of fiddles and trophies and posters, and it's like walking into the past. I think Dorothy kept everything from day one, and he has old reel-to-reel tapes. And I mean, the last time I visited him, we spent an evening looking at an old reel-to-reel tape that a friend of his had put onto a CD, and it was of Morris Lafferty and his brothers in Fort Simpson back in the 70s. And I mean, it was just, there's really not a word to put to it. Angus was like the personification of music in the NWT. Angus really made me realize that music is for everybody, and you know, it's something for sharing, and it looks better for you to help somebody than to try to be the star. And that's how Angus was. A lot of people didn't realize about him. Even though he was the star, he was the headliner, you know, he knew it, but he didn't, you know, he was humble. He was so willing to share what he knew and help other people. And, you know, it was a really perfect package of a human being. And so happy I knew him.
When my grandfather, Charlie Chaplin, first arrived in Hollywood, it was a place of dreams. But my grandfather clashed with some very powerful forces in America.
Are you a member of the Communist Party? Stand away from the stand!
I'm Una Chaplin. This is Hollywood Exiles. It's about a war of ideas that tore apart friendships, ended careers, and affected families like mine.
Hollywood Exiles, available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
Does public transit really need more police officers? And so this is it.
Welcome to the Greenbelt.
It is now believed that Titan was destroyed. It makes sense that they get a larger share, or does it?
All of this, just single detached homes.
Yes.
What do we know? How is that even possible? Well, with a little bit of help, I think we can explain.
About that with Andrew Chang. Watch free on CBC Gem.
Bad hair days. We all have them.
Even as scientists. I think I know my place. It's not making art.
What? This is a whale?
That's incredible.
I'm piloting a boat in the fjords of Norway. I love this job.
You never listen to me.
You never think things through.
Your honeymoon phase is officially over. We never had a honeymoon phase.
You really gonna make me say it?
Oh, yeah.
Fine. I need you, Max.
So much drama. I love it. You're tired of that? Stop. Get tired of that.
Police in Manitoba say a 29-year-old man has been charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder. The victims are the suspect's 3 children, common law partner, and a teen relative. The RCMP provided an update on its investigation today.
Evidence that was gathered yesterday evening and early this morning has led, in close consultation with the Crown, to the laying of 5 first-degree murder charges against Ryan Manakisik, a 29-year-old male from Carmen, Manitoba. All 5 victims lived together in the community of Carmen.
The victims were found on Sunday at several crime scenes in and around the community of Carmen, which is located about 85 kilometers southwest of Winnipeg. Police responded to a hit-and-run call and found the woman lying dead in a ditch. Hours later, officers were called to reports of a burning vehicle where they found the children dead. The body of the 17-year-old girl was located later at a home in Carmen. People involved in the contracting, development, and implementation of the ArriveCan app ignored basic management practices. That's according to Canada's Auditor General, Karen Hogan, who also says Canadian taxpayers paid too much for the pandemic-era app. She presented a scathing report to the House Public Accounts Committee today. David Thurton has that story.
This multi-million-dollar app wasted tax dollars, according to the Auditor General.
Overall, this audit shows a glaring disregard for basic management and contracting practices throughout ArriveCan's development and implementation.
Her audit laid the blame on the Canada Border Services Agency, the Public Health Agency, and Procurement Canada. Travelers were required to use ArriveCan during the pandemic's early days. It is still used for immigration declaration forms, but remains controversial.
I have to say that I am deeply concerned by what this audit didn't find.
Hogan's audit found very little information for awarding GC Strategies an uncompetitive contract. Record keeping was so bad that it was hard to estimate the app's final costs. Estimates peg it at nearly $60 million. According to the Auditor General, if the Government of Canada had done this kind of IT work, it would have cost an average of $675 a day. Instead, with ArriveCan's contractors, it costs almost twice as much, nearly $1,100.
In no way are we going to defend this particular contracting process.
The minister responsible for the Canada Border Services Agency says that every single recommendation will be implemented, but also shifted accountability to the CBSA's head.
She is taking all of the appropriate steps to hold anybody to account in the case of alleged wrongdoing, but also to ensure that this kind of circumstance can never be allowed to happen again.
The Conservative leader blamed the Prime Minister.
Won't he stand up today and admit that the app is just like him? It's not worth the cost, it's not worth the corruption.
The Auditor General stopped short of calling this corruption. She left that to the RCMP, which is investigating issues across the CBSA. But she did say that this is some of the worst financial record keeping that she's probably ever seen. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
Many Canadians have been complaining of a nagging cough, sometimes days and weeks after a bout of viral infection. Unfortunately, there are no quick fixes. For most cases, it usually just gets better with time. But, as Lauren Pelly found out, a cough lasting beyond 8 weeks may need attention.
Canadians know the feeling, a cough that just won't quit.
I still have it. Yeah, it comes and goes.
I do normally wait it out myself. If it were to last for weeks, though, I would definitely go into the doctor.
Usually, home remedies. So like hot water, mixed with turmeric. That's what we do in our culture.
So what's the best way to tackle a nagging cough? Well, a trio of doctors writing Monday in the Canadian Medical Association Journal say when a cough follows an infection, often it's just a waiting game.
We look through the evidence of what can be used to treat or stop a ghost infectious cough. And the answer, surprisingly, is time and patience.
This family doctor says he's only talking about cases where someone had a known viral infection beforehand, like a cold or the flu.
Most of the time, the patient's own cough will resolve on its own without any medication or treatment. But it lasts a lot longer than you think, anywhere from 3 to 8 weeks in total.
But if a cough lasts beyond 2 months, it can signal a deeper health issue. Physicians say other red flags can include coughing up blood, shortness of breath, wheezing, or difficulty swallowing. In those cases, conditions like asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease or COPD, or even whooping cough could be the culprit. And you might need treatment like an inhaler or other medications.
If the cough has been persistent for up to 6 to 8 weeks, then at least to do a basic chest x-ray to make sure there's no serious underlying lung disease.
Doctors say getting a proper diagnosis is important, but for most run-of-the-mill coughs caused by a virus, there's not much they can do. So the advice is just wait it out. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Many parts of the country are experiencing unseasonably mild weather. That's certainly true in southern BC, where the lack of snow is causing concern. Lindsay Duncombe explains.
This is what drought looks like in the North Shore Mountains near Vancouver. Every month, Metro Vancouver hydrologists visit weather stations to measure the snow. There's not much to measure 900 meters above sea level.
Yeah, so usually we'd see about 2 meters of snow here.
2 meters, so that's like taller than me.
Yeah, exactly. Over our heads.
This is part of the network of reservoirs and lakes that provide Vancouver's water supply.
So what it really means is that we need to start thinking already about water conservation as we move into the drier months.
This isn't just happening in the Vancouver area. Right across British Columbia, snowpack is low, and there are big worries about what that could mean for spring. The latest snowpack report shows an average snowpack 61% of normal. The hardest hit areas are where most people live.
It's just what is extremely unusual is how low it is everywhere.
Already, the province has called meetings with farmers to talk conservation. BC Hydro has had to import electricity and raise rates. Oil and gas producers told to make plans to store water for fracking operations.
We have communities in local states of emergency because they don't have enough drinking water in February. That really starts to make people concerned for what that's going to look like in the summer.
Higher in the mountains, the hydrologists find snow.
So right now there's about 110 centimeters, about 30% of what we would usually see.
There are still a couple of months of winter to go. Lots of snow could yet fall, but the scientists say don't count on it. The near forecast looks dry. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Vancouver.
An Ontario man's dream home had everything he needed, except enough heat to keep him warm in the winter. He had to live in frigid temperatures for months after a builder installed a furnace that was too small and failed to do anything about it. Rosa Marcatelli has that story.
The floor is freezing, so we have to turn it up.
When the weather turned cold, William Lobodici found himself layering on the clothing and constantly cranking up the temperature in his brand new dream home. And it was still chilly.
As an expert, they know when they installed these appliances that they weren't going to work. So why go ahead with it?
The air conditioner installed was also too small for the job. About 20 of Lobodici's neighbors face the same problem, according to the City of Hamilton. Complaints to the builder, Starwood Homes, went nowhere.
I mean, they're even admitting, yep, it's undersized. Yep, it won't work. And sorry, not doing anything.
Same thing from the HVAC company, Reliance Home Comfort, who said they just installed what the builder told them to, says Lobodici.
There's really fundamentally a lack of adequate consumer protection.
Despite government promises of a home buyer's Bill of Rights almost 2 years ago, Canadians are still waiting. Ottawa tells GoPublic consultations with key stakeholders are done and will soon share the results. At the center of this is Canada's building boom and the problems it's causing, says this advocate.
But there's a shortage of labor, there's a shortage of municipal inspectors. The whole system is fraught with problems, unfortunately.
The City of Hamilton tells Go Public they knew the furnaces and the air conditioning units violated building codes, but let it slide while working with the builder to correct it since July. That's news to Bob Fraser, one of Lobodici's neighbors with the same problem.
They knew about this problem, but they put it into the background and said, we'll deal with it later.
After Go Public inquiries, the builder said they're working on a solution. At the same time, Reliance Home Comfort, the HVAC company, replaced the furnace and the air conditioner for both homeowners and some of their neighbors. Rosa Marcatelli, CBC News, Calgary.
Shrinking congregations and rising maintenance costs are forcing churches across the country to close. In Newfoundland, some historic buildings are being reimagined and repurposed. As Peter Cowan shows us, new owners hope these spaces can act as social hubs in their communities.
The Cathedral of Immaculate Conception played a key role in the community life of Harbour Grace for more than a century. But a decade ago, the shrinking congregation could no longer afford the drafty old stone church.
When we got word that they had to close the church, it was devastating to the town, but I guess seeing it barred up there and closed for a number of years, when we knew it was no longer going to open, we knew the writing was on the wall for it as a building.
Where many saw decay, Brenda O'Reilly saw opportunity. She and her partner are investing millions to develop a different kind of community hub. The west transept will become a brewery and distillery. The east transept, a restaurant. The crypt down below will become a spa.
It was obviously intimidating, but our desires are pure. Our interest in this is real. We want to create something that will stand for years to come. It can be something that the community is very much a part of.
Not everyone supports the plan for the place they used to worship in. But Nicholas Lynch, who studies the transformation of churches, says it may be better than having the building carved up into condos.
Public space is a vital component of a healthy, livable city and community. And it doesn't matter where you are in Canada. That is absolute importance.
It's a concern across the province. The Catholic Church has sold off dozens of properties to raise money to compensate victims of abuse. In Pooch Cove near St. John's, Chris Shortle put in a lowball offer for one of them. Now he owns it and has to figure out what to do with it.
I don't think that the church should be converted into accommodations. I think it should, if possible, be used as a community space because it's got lots of good seating and it's got pretty good acoustics.
Churches like this will continue to close down, sold off to the highest bidder. Nicholas Lynch has advice for communities. If they want to keep these as public spaces, they need to start to plan before the for sale sign goes up. Peter Cowan, CBC News, St. John's.
The 60th annual Yukon Rendevu kicked off in Whitehorse this weekend. Katrin Pilkington takes us there.
Despite funding challenges and pandemic delays, Rendevu is turning 60 in style. Over the next 2 weeks, organizers promise singing, dancing, axe throwing, hand games, drag shows, and snow sculptures. And most importantly, an excuse to dress up.
So this one is from the 1920s, and then obviously the headband is 20s era as well. And then I ordered another 1920s dress, but that didn't come in. But I have a 1950s nice cute little dress that's more kind of Christmas themed because it's got Christmas kitties on the skirt, but I'm wearing that on Saturday anyway.
The big question is who will be crowned Rendevu Queen. But in the meantime, there are many more events to come. Rendevu means different things to different people.
It's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's a lot of pressure on the queens, I guess, to compete, but it's so fun to see everyone dress up and all get together to kind of celebrate our history.
Yeah, and do you feel like it can kind of, I know the whole point is really just to lessen the winter blues. Do you feel like it helps for you guys?
Yeah, I think it's just such a cool event, and it just really brings us out of the kind of winter depression.
Yeah.
And it just brings excitement into life, and yeah.
The festival runs until February 25th. Katrin Pilkington, CBC News, Whitehorse.
that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, you can always go to our website, cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.
Closing this case gets you one step closer to you getting back on the squad and keeping you out of prison.
You're not a detective, you're a con artist. You have a driver's license, right?
Of course, I have 9. If you're gonna be a cop, what would you be?
Nothing. My dad raised me to be a cop. That's who I am. Stay here.
You're adorable.
You guys are making this entire station look like a circus.
He's busy trying to solve a murder. What are you doing?
Thanks for having my back.
Look at you.
Is this your girlfriend? This is not my girlfriend. She's way too cool to be your girlfriend. She's not way too cool to be my girlfriend.
My name is Amanda Paris, and I am constantly thinking about culture, race, and social issues. So I want to push these conversations forward.
We found that there was animal meat fat in plastic synthetic hair.
There was a time where I'm like, should I have kids because the kids are going to be black?
I've been fired from my dream job. What's the worst that can happen now?
Now is the time to take the group chat to the real world. A 6-part series. This is For the Culture.
Watch free on CBC Gem.
How does it feel to watch CBC Gem for free? It feels like this. Let's go. Yeah. You can be this happy too with endless TV shows, movies, and more. Yeah. It's no payment entertainment.
1, 2, 3, go.
CBC Gem, y'all. Get down. Press play. Start streaming. CBC Gem. Watch free.
How can any of this be fair?
Now, you might think, hey, we just need more doctors, but that's not really it.
A Russian scheme here
shows you where it starts, where it ends.
Were you really willing to risk that job?
Yes.
At Thunder Bay's favorite festival, Wake the Giant.
Ta-da! There it is.
Hey, you're some friends, aren't you? Stand here and now you try and blackmail her. You disgust me. Every one of you.
Coronation Street. Watch free on CBC Gem.
We've won the costume contest every year.
Bunny!
Oh, they're squishing me. What have we done?
Whoa, what is this?
Crazy things have been happening.
Ghosting.
Ghosting. Watch free on CBC Gem.
My grandfather, Charlie Chaplin, clashed with some very powerful forces in America.
Are you a member of the Communist Party?
I'm Una Chaplin. This is Hollywood Exiles.
News you can trust. Delivered when you want, where you want. On Canada's News app. Download the free CBC News app.